Woodlowski closed his eyes and pressed his palm over his face as he realized, decades too late, what she had told him. That she tried to tell him all he had needed to know all those years ago. Silent tears began to run down Woodlowski's face. Woodlowski was walking together with Ladislav, Jean, Adam, and Jana further into the airport. He smiled as he turned and hugged each of them, whispering something just for them with each hug he gave. But even as he hugged his friends, he kept glancing in the direction of the entrance to the airport. He had hoped she would come, at least, to say goodbye, so that he might have a chance to see her again. Her and Julia. But neither of them showed up. Woodlowski moved to pull out of his hug with Ladislav as his friend cried loudly and childishly.
I'm sorry. I just can't. Don't want you to go.
Woodlowski's heart missed a beat as he leaned in and hugged Ladislav again, tighter this time. But finally, he stepped back, waving to his friends, knowing that it was time for him to go. He couldn't wait any longer. So, he slung his duffel bag over his shoulder and, with one last glance back, approached the security line and prepared to leave. The friends, however, didn't hurry up to say goodbye and leave, but grouped around Jean and Ladislav, who continued to shoot enigmatic glances toward the entrance and kept the friends intrigued. At the passport control booth, Woodlowski gave his passport and boarding pass to the agent. When the agent scanned the passport, the computer produced a quick succession of beeps, along with the red blinking text. The agent read it and frowned. He came out of the booth holding Woodlowski's documents firmly in his hand and waved to him.
Follow me, please.
He then called a security officer, and they led Woodlowski into a small room, with nothing but a table and 2 chairs in the middle. Woodlowski pulled out his phone, intending to make a call, but the officer took 2 quick steps toward him, and swiftly took it away.
I need to call the embassy.
You're not being arrested. The phone will be returned to you.
Outraged, Woodlowski watched as he exited, leaving him locked in the room. The friends saw Carrie running into the terminal and smiling conspiratorially as she strolled over to them, waving a thick FedEx package in her hands. Jean accepted the box from his assistant with a smile.
Thanks, Carrie.
Soon after, Ladislav pointed toward the entrance and let out a sigh of relief, drawing his friend's attention to Haritonov, Beata, and Julia coming into the terminal. Haritonov rolled Beata's multicolored suitcase, while his gaze honed in on and narrowed toward Jean. Having seen Haritonov and Beata, Jean instantly got out his phone and started furiously typing into it. He pulled out his credit card and entered numbers. Haritonov walked toward Jean, but stopped short of approaching him and made a short phone call. At passport controls, the agent and security guard entered the room where Woodlowski was fuming with anger.
I changed my mind. I don't want to leave. I need to go back.
Well, that's going to be a problem right there. Your visa has expired today, so we can't let you back in. Moreover, there were violations.
What violations?
A brawl at a restaurant, then an unsanctioned concert at the university, an assault on a FZB officer.
What officer? Oh yeah, must have known. FZB, a descendant of KZB.
Therefore, you're hereby entered into the blacklist and will not be issued an entry visa to Zagoria at any time in the future. There's a strange inscription here. It says, "Not until John Anna Lennon's revival."
The agent shrugged at what was gibberish to him, but Woodlowski's face reddened with hate. Haritonov was aware of the night at the revival open mic. Was he watching? Outraged, Woodlowski took the table by the edges and attempted to throw it up in the air, but it was bolted to the floor. He then took the chair and threw it at the agent, but missed, and was held by the security officer.
I request that you take me back and put me into jail.
Sorry! As I said, no further entry! Have a nice flight!
He returned Widlowski's phone and pushed him out of the room toward the departure gates. Widlowski texted Jean asking for Haritonov's phone number and immediately received it. Still outraged, he took a few deep breaths before dialing the number.
Haritonov, remember that precious Savvy truffle box you gave to His Excellency you-know-who? Well, it was a fake. What? Yes. Thank you. I sure will. No harm in having sex with myself. Jean will get the proof soon. Listen, we can send the proof either to you or to His Excellency. He'll then do to you what you wanted me to do to myself. So, which one it's gonna be? Oh, what I want? Stop your stupid visa tricks. Remove all the restrictions from Beata and me.
So Jean blackmails me. Now you blackmail me. Maybe I should ask around who else wants to blackmail me with the same goddamn chocolate box.
Jean? Haritonov, stop your games. Just do what I say, or you'll regret.
Jean picked up his phone, figuring Widlowski's calling, but hesitated trying to decide what to tell him.
Jean! Tell Widlowski that she's coming!
Ladislav, he doesn't even know we're still at the airport. He deserves a nice surprise, doesn't he?
Jean, how could you? Don't screw this up. Don't give it to him. Until all restrictions.
Widlowski, stop shouting! I and everyone in Grozd can hear you. Yes, I won't give it to him until he removes the idiotic restrictions. You just make sure you board that plane, trust me.
Jean rolled his eyes at Haritonov, said something heatedly under his breath, and opened the FedEx package. He took out a box of chocolates and put the empty parcel on a seat nearby. He then opened the box, found the receipt inside, and waved it under Haritonov's nose. While chatting with friends and hugging Julia, Beata took a moment to curiously examine the FedEx parcel. She picked it up, turned it around in her hands, and read the return address.
Jean, follow me.
Inside the door that read staff only, they approached the security officer, who looked up at them quizzically as they stopped in front of his desk, but having quickly recognized Haritonov, stood at attention. This was something Haritonov knew he should have done years ago, but he didn't. He had to admit to himself that the thought of Beata having the smallest chance to meet with Widlowski was hard to overcome, but he knew that it was time.
Please, change Beata Navina's status from exit prohibited to exit granted.
The security officer nodded curtly and typed in the information. He smiled up at Haritonov, and Haritonov nodded and turned back to face Jean.
There you have it.
Thank you.
Haritonov realized that he truly meant it. He nodded again, and it was a softer, more respectful nod than earlier. Jean was about to go back out, but Haritonov hesitated. Finally, he made up his mind.
Officer, remove the entry prohibited from Widlowski's record.
Jean smiled, though it was tight and a bit grudging, and headed back out to the departure terminal. Haritonov lingered in the door, watching Beata laugh and smile as she talked with Julia, Zhana, and Adam. Even Ladislav managed to elicit warmth and light from her, and Julia couldn't keep from laughing at every joke Ladislav threw her way. It was so different from how they spent their time at home. Haritonov went back to the agent's counter and ordered him to create a passport control record for Julia Haritonova, prohibiting her to exit Zagoria. Haritonov came back, and as he approached, Beata quizzically looked at him, a question on her lips. But seeing the fear in his eyes, Beata resolved not to ask and instead leaned in and kissed his cheek. Haritonov dawdled a moment longer before he turned to take Julia's hand and headed out. There was nothing left for him to do. Halfway toward the exit door, he put his arm around Julia's waist and slightly pulled her toward himself. A nasty verse of the Getting Better song he broke down all those years ago when he chased the Schmiedels off the stage started playing in his brain.